so extra, but I know I'm the same. Yeah. Love me in spite of my trauma. Give me what I need instead of the drama. Cause when it pop off, it's like, oh my. All good all day, but the night we be going so hard on the flip side. So tell me what we on a day, babe. I could keep that same energy. When you go low, I go low too. But you'd rather stay high, I know you. Can we stay high, babe? I'd rather be on that wave, tryna control our emotions. If we on the right side of passion, we could share love in the ocean. But if you wanna go insane either way, baby, we could go all night. We could do it all night. We could go all night, all night. Do we heal, do we bleed? I'ma follow your lead, but we could go all night. Now all of my calls go to voicemail. I block you so I don't raise hell. Should've talked through it in detail. Our separate ways ain't gon' end well, no. But when we get back, it's like, oh my. All bad all day, but the night I get that good till we act right. So tell me what we on a day, babe. I could keep that same energy. When you go low, I go low too. But you'd rather stay high, I know you. Can we stay high, babe? I'd rather be on that wave, tryna control our emotions. If we on the right side of passion, we could share love in the ocean. But if you wanna go insane either way, baby, we could go all night. We could do it all night. We could go all night, all night. Do we heal, do we bleed? I'ma follow your lead. We could go all night.
I've been calm, cool, collected, but you pushing on my nerves. And I'm knowing your intention, I'm under pressure. Okay, I'm admitting that a couple things I said got acidic in the tone. In the presence, I get careless. Long as you know I come with imperfections. When you look at me, you see the soul through my flesh. You something special. Know you looking bomb, the way you dress and gone. Flex and hold it still and let my mind digest. You got the leverage. You got the upper handle on the situation. You worthy of a million more of the storms that we weathered. We fight retreating this, but you trying to kill the cycle. When nobody's stressing that body like me, I know the way you like it. I treat you like a queen, run the castle, you a treasure. Feel like
lights off, transparency on. Late night marriage with the riches. Late night marriage with the riches. You need that real talk, this is what you want. Lights off, transparency on, let's go.
Hey, what's going on? Good night, good night, good night. Glad for you to be here with us. Welcome to Late Night Marriage with the Riches, where it is lights off, transparency on. I am Damon Rich.
I am Tamika Rich.
And we are so glad to have you here. You want to move that mic up a little
Just
bit
a
more?
tad.
There you go.
Okay,
There you
here
go.
we go.
All right. We are so glad to have you here with us tonight. Hope you can tap in. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend that the Riches are in the building on Late Night Marriage with the Riches. And we have an exciting topic discussion to have with you tonight. And it's funny. It's funny because I was thinking of, while you were gone to Essence, I was thinking about what we were going to talk about. And oh Lord, don't do nothing, do. Okay. And what we were going to talk about, and I had put down starting over. I put down starting over.
Okay.
And I was thinking about, like, what would we do different if we started over? And then on our way down to Pinellas, we had a conversation and we end up talking about some of that. So I was like, yeah, this the topic we're supposed to be talking about. Why is my drink act like it want to come out? So this was like a topic we wanted to talk about, and knew it was going to be coming out, popping out. And so yeah, I was like, this is the topic. This is the topic, because I think that there are a lot of people who don't have that conversation. And honestly, the depth at which you and I had it on the way to Pinellas even shocked me. I was like, because we kind of went there in some different areas.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to talk about some of that tonight, not going to name names or get into that type of stuff, but definitely some intriguing conversation because while there are people who have to think about starting over because their marriage might be over,
Mm-hmm.
as you're growing and maturing in marriage and you're still trying to grow and get your footing, you might have those moments of like, what if I had to start over? What does it look like?
Right.
And you and I've had this conversation kind of in a way in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a time we had a conversation, and it's kind of like you knew the type of woman that if we found ourselves not together, type of woman that I would probably date.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I did. I said that.
You said it.
I
Go
did.
ahead, say it to the people. Who is she?
Who is she? Now I'm
I ain't on the
trying
market, ma'ams.
to.
So y'all don't take this as
Now
no
that you
selling
put me on
advertisement.
the spot, I described her, I think, as being a little older
Mm-hmm.
than you. Um, which I am older than you, but not that much.
Not that old. Not that old. And we ain't talking about no 10 years old, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Maybe.
Uh-uh. 48
um,
messing with 50, it ain't gonna work for me.
no, I'm just trying to see how I would describe her now. I don't know if you remember, but I know I
Oh, I
remember.
remember.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I definitely remember I said older.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
what else did I say?
You didn't get into like a lot of detail, but
Mm-hmm.
you got into you went beyond just older.
Okay.
Um so it was older.
It was a minute ago.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's been a couple of years. Older. Um Probably your complexion or darker.
Oh, okay. I remember I
Yeah,
did get into
your
that.
complexion or darker.
Mm-hmm.
Um Probably somewhere in the neighborhood. I don't know that height was ever brought up, and I don't know if height would be the thing for me, but probably build similar. Would be there would be probably
Some.
some similar build, not exact.
Mm-hmm.
Height wouldn't necessarily be the thing, and but the older part probably sticks out the most because
Mm-hmm.
of just for my mindset, it's like maturity.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah,
so
that's what I said.
I don't even know if age really plays that factor, but to me it's like if you're a few years older than me, you got to be at least as mature as me
Mm-hmm.
and have lived some life. And I don't
Yeah.
think we ever went down that path about I don't know if you would get married again. Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. I hear more women say that. Well, no, I don't. No, I hear that equal.
Really?
I hear that. I think I
Oh,
hear that equal about men and women who say they'll never do it again. I
okay.
think
I
the
thought well, I guess I talk to and I interact with more women, but I would definitely say I know a lot of women that says no.
nah, they wouldn't do it again.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. So,
So,
yeah, but we got into the discussion on the way down, and we were just talking about.
well, let me say this:
Uh huh.
women that's either a little more mature in age or have been married for a long time,
Hmm.
for a very long time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's.
not ones that you know, maybe was married for a short time
Hmm.
and then actually get out of marriage what they thought and they would like to try it again or do it over again.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I think that for some, I think that for some people, or particularly for some women, I think that they believe that. And I think that there's a period of time that they would absolutely enjoy that. But I think there would come a period of time
Hmm.
that they would like, I want some companionship.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think there would be a time where it's like, I want some companionship.
Hmm.
And I would love to have that. Oh, I'm sitting here thinking, what in the world do I have going on? There it is. Um, that some people would say like, oh, I want some companionship, but in wanting that companionship, Or so they might not want to get married again, but they definitely gonna want somebody that they can snuggle up to.
Mm-hmm. I've
I
heard
think
that
that
too.
that would be true. I think that that would be true. So, um, yeah, I was just had I thought I had shared that, but I didn't. So, thinking about some of the conversation we had, let's start maybe light. What are some of the things we might do different? What are some of the things we might do differently if we met again? Like we started over, we still gonna be with each other, but what might we do different out the gate?
Right. And here's the thing, I think when we realize that and say what we would do different for us, those things that we didn't do, and we're in a place that we've grown and matured over the years where we can now go, okay, well, let's try these things because we say
Right,
we would do them different. And we do call this our second marriage, even though we didn't get divorced
right,
and start over, but we started over.
right, right.
And so, some of the things, of course, we said we would have more in depth conversations, talk a little more, get to
Yeah,
know each other more. Um, I think now we would know the questions to ask. So that's why we like to help a lot of people,
right, right.
especially if they're younger or want to do it, never done it. What are good questions to ask? What am I getting to know? What are the things that I'm looking for? What characteristics
Yeah,
in the person? So different characteristics, watching what they do, not just what they say.
yeah,
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 and then knowing that period of time of things that that aren't completely authentic about that person
yeah,
because they're trying to portray or put that best face on or best um they're trying to impress you
yeah,
basically.
yeah,
So you get a lot of impressment in the beginning.
yeah. So that's good about other people, but what about us?
Yeah. Oh,
We
that
know
wasn't
ours.
us.
No, I mean you were talking about in generalities. We
Oh
have
yeah, about
things
what we would share.
specifically. Yeah, you were
Um
talking about what we share with other people, but what would we do
do
different?
um
Like what questions that you would ask now that you didn't ask then?
questions. Now, if you had asked me this while we were just random, I probably could answer 'em. Um, there are some questions, a
Mm-hmm.
lot. What would I have asked you different?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I
uh,
think didn't I ask in the beginning about vision, or was that a little bit later?
no, you didn't ask about vision
Vision
in
in
the
the beginning,
beginning. Yeah,
but
yeah.
shortly.
Cause let me say this about
Mm-hmm.
vision. You could ask a person about the vision that they have for their life,
You can.
but you have to remember that they had a vision that didn't include you. And then even when they did factor in their vision had a wife, they it's impossible to know the construct of that wife,
Mm-hmm.
the history of that wife,
Right.
the challenges of that wife, and how you're going to react to those challenges. So you can have that vision all you want for yourself, but
Mm-hmm.
when the two become one, you got to dig into what's the vision for us.
Right.
And I
But
think
then
that
even the broader overall vision of what it looks like, so you can have a, a visual of what that person sees or their perception
yeah, no,
of the
having the
vision.
discussion
Hmm.
absolutely can
So
can
then
happen.
you can honestly say, "Oh, is that me or someone I can be or someone that I am?"
Well, somebody that I am, because
Hmm.
that's the important part.
Yeah, because
Be-
a lot of times people try to become the person that you talk about, and
exactly.
that's not necessarily who you are, and that causes a ton of problems and issues later on down the road.
It does.
Yeah.
100%
Mhm.
causes a bunch of problems because people pretend and people pretend long enough to get you in, and
Mhm.
then people switch up.
Right.
And some of the time, sometimes the switching up is not even malicious. It's not intentional.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens.
Right.
The switching up just happens
Mm-hmm.
because of life. So yeah, I think that when it comes down to vision, yeah, you want a vision. And I could just honestly say I definitely wouldn't have had a vision,
Mm-hmm.
right? I can't even really remember. A lot of kids was asked, and what do you want to be when you grow up?
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall really ever being asked that question. And if I was asked it, I don't remember that I ever answered it.
Mm.
I, the only thing I can ever remember is I was like, in some ways, I became everything that I didn't want to be because I definitely wouldn't want to do politics, but
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm probably suited for it if I were to pursue it.
Mm-hmm.
I being in the corporate world and some of the things that come along with that, I was like, I don't think I'd be good in that area because I'm a little bit of a maverick.
Mm.
So I didn't think
Right.
I'd be doing good, would do good in that area. But turns out that maverick in me, the gift that God gave me in that area, has actually benefited me in my career.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that's really there that helps. It makes me an agent of change.
Mm-hmm.
So now I kind of like, oh, okay. So I didn't never ask or answer that question for myself. So if you'd ask me about a vision, I'd be like, oh, I know what a vision is. I don't know that I had a vision.
You're
I
right.
was
I don't
22
think
years
so.
old.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I was more of like what goals, what are you looking
Mm-hmm.
for? What's the future for the family? What do you see?
Yeah.
Where do you see us going?
Yeah.
What legacy do you see us leaving?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when we go ahead.
Mm-mm. So probably a little more in depth um of those type questions.
Yeah, I think those type questions. I think I would have asked you more about your childhood,
Mm-hmm.
because as we were
Same.
talking the other night, um, I heard stuff I'd never heard,
Mm-hmm.
and and I heard kind of how you felt about it, and I was like, I don't think she realized everything that she just told me by telling me this, and I
Mm.
think that sometimes because we overanalyze our own story
Right.
that we miss that there's important information in our own story
Mm-hmm.
that we might not find pertinent, but the other person might find pertinent.
And that's so true.
Yeah,
And that's why you hear a lot of people telling you now, hey, tell your story.
yeah,
It could help someone else. Even if you don't think you have a story, you have a story.
yeah, yeah.
But same, I think that helps a lot because as we see now, getting information from your past, your childhood, you growing up, what kind of family dynamic you had,
Mm-hmm.
gives you a lot of insight
Yeah.
on the person, even if you don't ask the right questions to the person or see
Mm-hmm.
those things right now,
Yeah.
you'll see them later
Yeah.
because environment, um you can't help but be a product of environment. And I tell
Yeah.
people that even if you intentionally don't want to,
Yeah.
I mean that's all you know is what you grew up
Your
in and
your
what
en-
you were around.
your environment definitely has an impact
Mhm.
on the person that you become,
Right.
but it doesn't have to hold you back.
Right. And you don't have to stay hold you back or be that person.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, like we were talking and I was sharing with you, and it's not something I hadn't shared with you before, but I don't know if it's the first time you kind of heard it
Mm-hmm.
so I've shared it, but you heard it or processed it
Different.
differently. But I talked about, was sharing with you some conversation I've had with some close friends and relatives, and just like I know the woman that broke me because
Mm-hmm.
I know who I was at one phase in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and then I know the person I became after that, and then I know how long it took me to kind of get back to who I originally was,
Mm.
and it took way longer. I mean, it took a while
Right.
to get back to who I really was, and so yeah, so knowing that and like who and how and why. And it's like it's a bunch of little micro fractures,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have that one big break. and I
Right.
know who caused the one big break and why that one big break, and what it caused me to do is just like go caution to the wind,
Mm-hmm.
right? At that point, because I was never the ladies man. It's like I say it to this day, the the classic Andre 3000 line. I bet you never heard of a player with no game, told the truth to get what I want, but shot it with no shame. And that was me. Like I was oblivious,
Mm-hmm.
and to this day, I'm still oblivious. If a woman is flirting with me, it's like I think she is, but I ain't 100% sure. It's just not my skill set. Um,
I
and
believe that.
is just not my skill set. So when um when it comes down to like that breaking me, and then I was sharing with you, I was like, I'm, my 11th and 12th grade year, I had grown women showing up at the school to like, I want to meet this guy, and
Mm-hmm.
which is abnormal to me. But had that break not happened, I don't know if I would have even entertained those women
Mm-hmm.
because of how who I was before the break. And
Right.
then after the break, it's like, come on over. You
Right.
want to holler, and it just something else. And so that's one of that like dating history.
Mm-hmm.
I think is there's the big conversation in today's dating world about bodies, but while bodies are important,
Yeah. Body count.
what's more important to me is your pattern of dating.
Mm-hmm.
What type of people did you date? Because if I'm drastically different than what you're used to dating, we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna have some friction
Yeah.
because I can be the best guy or you could be the best girl, but the friction is gonna come in that my pattern is my normal, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's even if it's unhealthy,
Right.
my pattern is my normal,
Right.
right? So now if I'm over here dating, you know,
And it takes um people a lot of times to adjust to if you're used to a certain pattern,
mm-hmm,
and then you go, this can't be the person or good for me. And so when you get the person that's not the norm or that pattern, then you think, no, I can't do this, or this is not the person, because one, you
mm-hmm,
hadn't been healed yet.
mm-hmm,
And so then you have a tendency of going that chaos or that whatever it was that person brought throughout that pattern, um, is what you want or you think you
mm-hmm,
want or need. And so it's a difference between what you want and need for sure. But it just takes you a while to go, oh, this is a good person, or this is what I truly need,
mm-hmm,
once you get away from, or once you become aware of
mm-hmm.
what the pattern was actually doing to you.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that some divorces happen because people got what they desired and ultimately figured out it wasn't what they needed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got what I desired, but it isn't what I needed at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I needed this other thing,
You're right.
right? Um, yeah, I needed this other thing. And so now I'm in this marriage where everything I desired and I'm still not happy.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel lonely. I still feel unfulfilled. And it's really not the other person's fault. They were everything you desired,
Mm-hmm.
but they may have been nothing that you needed.
Right.
Yeah. So, uh,
Everything you thought you wanted.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like getting a luxury car. Everybody thinks they want it until they have to take it in for maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
It
Right.
just like giving a contrast, like the difference between what it takes to get a full brake job on my car, it takes two times that to get a full brake job on your car. It is
Mm-hmm.
like there's a
Right.
difference.
Right.
There's a difference. And so I just think that, thinking back for us, definitely I would have asked more questions about your childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely would have went back to a state of abstaining from sex.
For sure.
I
Yeah, we
definitely
said
I
that
definitely
before.
would have did that different.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, yeah,
And I always say become friends
yeah,
first on the front end instead of the back end. So we tell
yeah,
everybody that take the time to become the friend to that person. And I think that's where you get a lot of information from.
Yeah.
You able to, especially if they trust you, let down your guard a little bit more and have those better or deeper conversations
Yeah.
as a friend.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But I think that what makes it difficult.
Because when you romanticize it so much in the beginning, that's where a lot of the pretending is.
Oh yeah.
Because you figure, oh, I like them so much, so I don't want to say anything wrong, do anything wrong, hurt
Yeah.
their feelings.
I don't think that the romanticizing stuff ever really goes away. And I think it causes its own set of problems. But that's a different
Hmm,
discussion.
that's
But
interesting.
I don't think it goes away.
Hmm.
Um, but when it comes to friendship, and I know I'm well on record for saying that I don't think like being friends as husband and wife, I don't think it's tenable. I hear a lot of people, oh, that's my best friend. And then when I start asking serious questions
Hmm.
about and it's maybe I'm just looking at it from a man's view.
Hmm.
These are things I know I can do with my friend. I know I can do this with my best friend. There are things that I can say to my best friend and know they will not hold it against me. It will not come back up again in the wrong way. If it's something they need to address with me, they'll address it with me right then with no malice, with nothing, whatever. Right. But when you start talking about being friends with your spouse, true friends, then that means I can tell you about my strengths and my weaknesses and my struggles and it not become an issue.
Hmm.
And see, I think that the gap there is I don't live with my friend.
Right. But I think if you definitely started before, then it's a lot easier.
You say that. I
Hmm.
hear you, right? But I think some marriages wouldn't happen. And I'm gonna go to my extreme example that I often give. So, we dating and I'm like, yeah, girl, I'm feeling you. Like, yeah, I think we wanna get married. We were holding from sex and all of that. And then I start telling you about like, yeah, this chick just keep getting my attention. I ain't doing nothing, baby. You having that conversation with your real friend, you can have that conversation.
Hmm.
And if they're a real friend, they gonna check you and make sure you ain't going down the wrong path, but they ain't gonna hold that against you. But if we're dating with the intention of becoming lovers and long term, would you ever be able to let that go? And a lot of women, when I ask it that way, they
Hmm.
say, nah, I can't do it. Then that's not your friend. That's not your friend.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm seeing it from the point of view of, so you're friends with this person. You hadn't actually entered into that type of relationship, but you're able to have those conversations. And then later down the road, because even if you are feeling someone else and you're talking about it, and so your friend's able to have this conversation, give you some advice, what she thinks or he thinks or whatever about it, if it was you, about that person, because this happens so many times. And then later on, you figure out, or the light bulb comes on, or you have an aha moment and go, oh, that's the actual person for me. So you've already had those conversations and
Yeah,
did these.
but you had those conversations. But here
Hmm.
go the line of demarcation.
Hmm.
Can you still have those conversations
Right.
after you come to that realization?
Hmm.
So you could be friends and homeboy, homegirl, and all this and that, and you come to that um that realization. Can you continue to have that type of open dialogue?
Hmm.
And I don't think so.
I think so.
That's what I say. But every time I get in and I ask a bunch of grown women who say
Hmm.
they want their husband be their friend, and I present that, all of a sudden, all of that changed.
Right. Right.
All that changed. Like, no, I don't want. Then you're not their friend. Well, let me put it this way.
Hmm.
A lot of time, women be like, I want my husband to be my best friend. He could maybe be your friend, but best friend, I don't know.
It depends on how, what are you saying or meaning by best friend? Because I hear that a lot. So,
Best friend, I'm telling you, like next to your spouse, your best friend know where all the bodies buried.
hmm,
Like they know where all the bodies buried.
right.
And so it's they know stuff. Y'all can have conversation and they never hold it against you.
Hmm.
Right?
Right.
That's That's what makes God our friend. He knows everything about us and he still loves us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just saying, getting to that level of, I agree that if you develop that before y'all know that y'all are gonna be partners or go down that path, that yeah, you can develop that, and it is a different level of a bond. So I'm not discarding that.
Right.
But after y'all realize we're gonna be together, some of that conversation gonna change, and even some of the previous conversations gonna play back in your head, like, oh, I know how you move. Especially because I have heard this. Like people end up getting together, but they at the beginning they were friends and they knew how he moved as a dog. Then all of a sudden they figure out that it's them, they should be together.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's just really changed his way, but she still remember how he moved as a dog. So when he moved in certain ways, she immediately said, I don't trust that because that's how you used to move, but he ain't even moving that way no more. But those friendship conversations you don't just flush them down the toilet,
Right.
right? So that's how I look at it. That's all. I'm just saying, hey, maybe I'm the one living in nightmare land or fairy tale world, but mm,
Right.
no, I don't know.
But what are some of the other things? So we
Oh,
talked about asking questions about our childhoods, talking about that
mm-hmm.
a lot more.
A lot more to family life.
Family life.
Um, like
Expectations. I would talk about expectations because I don't think we had a conversation in the beginning or early on about expectations.
not any meaningful
Mm-hmm.
expectations. I think most of the expectations were around religious stuff and superficial,
Mm-hmm.
not the in-depth expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that in-depth expectation is important.
For sure.
Discussion
Mm-hmm.
is super important, and learning to reconcile that.
Right.
Learning to
That way
reconcile that.
you're not assuming um that the person knows
Mm-hmm. No
or
assumptions.
right
Yeah, no
what
assumptions.
you expect
Right.
in different areas are all parts of the marriage and the relationship when it comes down to each part of the marriage.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I expect you to have known that, or
Yeah. I don't know if it's the doggone AC or these lights or what, but yeah, be more careful. I'm hot.
oh, you
Um,
see, I already took my little jacket off.
yeah, I see you. So, another conversation we had that we got into
Mm-hmm.
was about, and this is a conversation we've had several times, and I won't go into the meat of it, but it's kind of like you saying like, would I want somebody else? Am I, you know, do I feel like I picked wrong or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
And and if you ask the question like, if I wouldn't have married you, who would I have chosen? And I
Mm-hmm.
told you,
Mm-hmm.
like, this is probably the person, like, if I'm doing the choosing
All right.
in the sense of just choosing a woman that I think again desires or thinks meets my needs or whatever, then yeah, I think that it would have been person X or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't. I don't know that we kind of finished that whole conversation about that or what have you, but
All right.
yeah, it was definitely a different type of the person that I would have potentially um, dated or pursued for marriage. Um, yeah, kind of you have an idea or a thought of who that might be or whatever. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
So definitely having honest conversations.
yeah, yeah. But that kind of falls back into the what people's dating patterns are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the one thing that was super important for me is I knew this is about being emotionally intelligent, having a high emotional intelligence. I'm pretty self-aware, and I think I've always been pretty self-aware. I maybe didn't act on it the level that I needed to, but knowing at least some of what you need. And one of the things I knew I could not have
Mm-hmm.
is a woman that I could easily run over, or that would just spoil me, or that would just be enamored with what may look like Herculean for someone, but for someone else, but for me, it was relatively simple.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would have allowed me to live in mediocrity.
Mm-hmm.
So everything I've done by the grace of God in our marriage and our relationship that's really been a blessing is God has always put that hunger on the inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was the guy working at McDonald's, there's no way I'm a be hired at McDonald's and a year later, shoot, not already on the cash register. I'm gonna be on the cash register
Right.
ASAP or whatever. I'm gonna be a supervisor within a year or a manager within a
Mm-hmm.
year. That's just who the drive
Mm-hmm. That
that's
you
in
have.
me. But with the wrong, because this is important, pick who you pick is super important,
Mm-hmm.
because you may find someone who would be okay with you just reaching the highest level of McDonald's leadership, as long as it means you can spend a whole bunch of time with them. But
Right.
at the same time, y'all are struggling. So on one hand, they complaining about the struggle. On the other hand, they're complaining about you being gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's important.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's important. So
To even talk about that, what it looks like, um, for you to be driven.
mm-hmm.
You know how
Mm-mm.
much.
I'm not driven.
Oh,
I pursue. I
you're
don't.
right.
I'm not driven.
You
Never been
pursue,
driven. I'm a pursuer.
pursue.
Mm-hmm.
How much of a pursuer that you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because sometimes people are comfortable or at a certain place, they're good. But if they always have somebody who's restless or keeps pursuing, at what cost?
Oh
So
yeah,
if
yeah,
I
yeah.
go, oh, this matters, or the family, and so we don't necessarily need to keep sacrificing, or you don't need to sacrifice your family
Right,
to keep pursuing.
right, right.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, and I think that that is super important. Like understanding a person having an understanding of priorities,
Mm-hmm.
and understand that there are seasons of pursuit,
Mm-hmm.
and there's seasons where you come back and build.
Right.
So that how I would put that is, back in the olden day, there would be seasons where you had to go and cut down the trees, get them, cut them into boards and all that, so you can
Mm-hmm.
build a house.
Mm-hmm.
So those in those seasons, and that it was right for you to go out and do that kind of stuff, you went out and did it, and then you came back
Mm-hmm.
and you did your processing and you did your building, and then you went. So it's like there's seasons of building and there's seasons of pursuing the material to build.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that that's super important. I think also, I'm going back through our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think getting clear on how a person sees themselves,
Mm-hmm.
how they see themselves.
Right.
When you look in the mirror, who do you see?
Mm-hmm.
And getting clear and kind of pressing on that, so that they don't have the coming to America effect. What food do you like? Whatever you like. What's your favorite sport? Whatever you like.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that you're not in that situation. Like, are you your own person?
Mm-hmm.
Because I need you to be your own person.
Right.
Because if you're not your own person, I'm getting ready to get a lot of smoke
Mm-hmm.
on me in order to just keep you sane.
Right. And a lot of times, being your own person for as much as you can, depending on where you are in life and your age.
Yeah.
Because for us, we were younger, and so knowing, having a sense of who we were, but not truly knowing in the fullness
Yeah,
of
and
who we were.
yeah, I'm definitely talking about identity to
Mm-hmm.
the degree that you can know at the point. But if you like, I don't know who I am,
Right.
and that might not come out that bluntly, but it's
Right.
like, who am I?
Right.
I need you to know who you are,
Mm-hmm.
so I know what I'm getting,
Right.
who I'm getting it, and who I'm getting into something with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
super important.
And that's a little different from knowing exactly what you like.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah,
definitely knowing who you are.
yeah, yeah. Um, I think that, and this one has nothing to do with you as much as it has to do with me. I definitely think, not especially from a spiritual, practical perspective, now that I understand, I definitely would have waited for sex. Not just with you, just like in life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it creates a lot of tension,
It does.
and a lot of pressure. I put a post out the other day that everybody, people say they want a godly man or a godly woman, and it just sounds good to them. But
Mm-hmm.
the reality is you don't, because at the time you're talking about pursuing that godly man and godly woman, you're asking them usually to do things that are not pleasing to God. So you really don't. I want you to have an appearance of godliness, but
Right.
deny the power thereof,
Pretty
please.
much. Pretty much.
Right?
Right.
I need you to do that.
Right.
So
I have about this much of godliness, but not this much.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. No, 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 no. Don't go all the way in. I'm good. So yeah, I yeah, I think that's probably, those are some of the things. I'm sure there's more to it.
I know. I said we'll get off and think about, oh, yeah, I would have
And yeah, and what
said
about
that or
that?
done that.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that family dynamic is so important,
Mm-hmm.
because then you get to know even some of the expectations that a person has
Right.
just by knowing their family dynamic. Like if you really dug into my family, you understand Sunday dinner wasn't my thing.
Right. The,
it,
the
it wasn't my thing, and you
right.
wouldn't have to kill yourself trying to cook it. Like it wasn't my thing, So Sunday dinner wasn't my thing.
Right. But then you'll even know, like, so, because you're saying Sunday dinner wasn't your thing, but you know how some families are really close with their family. So every
Yeah,
Sunday is like a big meal at, um, you know, grandma's or my dear's or
mm,
somebody's house, the sister house, brother house, somebody. And
yeah,
so if that really wasn't your thing, like bring those two things together so you're talking about it. And if you're dating, then of course I'm sure you've invited them over so they kind of see what that looks like. And
yeah,
so then do you say something then of, I probably won't be able to do this every week,
mm-hmm,
or do you wait and just keep going and then, try to not get married and you be like, so this is something you guys do, not necessarily me.
right,
So, then you talk about how often you want to do it, or
yeah,
if it's something you grow to like, oh, we never really did this, but I do like it. And so I can do it every week or every Sunday. Or do
yeah,
you go, I just want dinner with us? I mean,
yeah.
at home by ourselves.
There has to be some give and take, and if
Mm-hmm.
you weren't used to that, or that type of thing, there definitely has to be some give and take.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up, my auntie always cooked big, my auntie cooked big Sunday dinners and stuff like that. So that's, over there, and every now and again we went over there to eat, but that's just not.
But I think a lot of times, and I can say this for women. So if that is the case, I think a lot of times we assume, because we don't talk about those expectations, that this will just keep going and he'll adapt.
Yeah, if we don't stop and talk and
Mm-hmm.
ask and check in. Whew, goodness, what in the world? I need some sleep. Yeah,
Something.
yeah. We don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to do that. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
But that's all about getting to know each
Yeah,
other in those dynamics.
but what makes it scary?
and the relationships that they have with their family,
Yeah.
mother, father,
Yeah.
especially son. And I mean, if it's him, what kind of relationship I would say you had with your mom.
Yeah, I think relationship all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
My relationship with my mom, my dad, all of that. All of that's important.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I would say to you is, um, some of that you don't realize how it impacts you until much later in life.
That's true.
And you can try and articulate it as much as but you don't feel the full impact until much later in life.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I'm concerned about as we think about, as we're sharing this, is I'm concerned that, and this is why it's important that you get to know you.
Mm-hmm.
You could have these conversations and it scare you away from the person that you actually meant to be with,
Mm-hmm. That's true.
because you're diagnosing it for red flags as opposed to understanding every person on the face of the earth comes with some red flags.
True.
Every person. The question you need to be looking at is, what efforts are they taking to address the red flags?
Mm-hmm.
And what efforts am I taking to address my red flags?
Right.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
Mm-hmm. What was I gonna say? Also, I think a lot of times, and you talked about patterns when people get together. We talk about trauma bonding a lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's unhealthy when you do that if you're aware or unaware, and then have the attitude of it's um, us against the world
Oh yeah.
type of mentality, because that does not. That's a recipe for disaster.
BS. That's what it is.
Yeah.
BC. Yeah. Bull stuffing.
Right.
All of that.
Yeah.
Because that is
Mhm.
absolutely a recipe for
But
disaster.
it happens so much that you don't listen to people that care about you, that's
Mm-hmm.
trying to give you, some good sound advice. You don't weigh it or balance it. So it's almost like you turn it off and go, we'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And the whatever broken pieces are in you or the pride or whatever goes, it's us against them or against the world or whoever tries to say we're not meant to be or we won't make it and all of the things. And so you don't take the time out to slow down and listen and see
Mm-hmm.
what they're saying, weigh it, see if there's something to it, dig into it a little bit more, learn a little bit more about the person, have the conversations a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So then later down the road, it comes up and you go, oh, they were right,
Yeah.
even if you admit it or not.
Yeah. I feel like I need a button on here for the Fred Sanford. You big dummy. Because that's exactly what'll be happening.
Mm-hmm.
If yeah, that definitely be happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, anything else you want to cover, my dear?
Um, just thinking, not that I can think of right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Anything we missed? Anything else we talked about?
No, no. I think there's other stuff we talked about that is a different type of topic,
Mm-hmm.
that we'll have to cover. Yeah, yeah. Like one of the things we talked about was, um, what do you call the thing? Protection. Like
Mm-hmm.
a man's need to feel secure, and we talked through some of that
Mm-hmm.
and how that looks different. You talked a little bit
Security.
about the being wanted, not being wanted until somebody else want type of so it's other conversations
Mm-hmm.
definitely to be had. So
All right. But I do want to say it's not too late to start over.
it's not too late to start over with the same person you're with.
Mm-hmm. And I think for a lot of people, they think it's easier to just throw them away and
Hmm.
start over with somebody else. And that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's it's a Mariah Carey song ringing in my brain for some reason. I don't know if it's got to do with this or not.
Right. And then some people keep thinking because they'll keep trying to start over with different people, and instead of just starting over with the one you already have.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. They keep starting over again. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the song. That's the song.
What
Yeah.
is it?
Hold on. I ain't asking you to do that. Does it have the we belong together?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean it when I said I didn't love you so. I should have held on tight. I should have never let you go. I didn't know nothing. I was stupid. I was foolish. I was lying to myself. So it like that I don't know why that song just popped in my head or whatever. Um I couldn't I could not fathom that I would ever be without your love. Never imagined I'd be sitting here beside myself because I didn't know you, because I didn't know me, but I thought I knew everything. Oh, that's deep. Because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know you, I didn't know me, but
Mm-hmm.
I thought I knew everything. Um, I never felt the feeling that I'm feeling now, that I don't hear your voice or have your touch and kiss your lips because I don't have a choice. Oh yeah, yeah. See, that's that
Right.
fire song. I'm gonna have to listen to that as we get ready to get out of here.
Right. It just sounds like sometimes you don't give each other a chance to grow into you or grow into who
Yes,
you really are. And then later down the road, you go, oh, we should have toughed it out.
yeah,
Or now
yeah,
we're really good. We both grown, we both learned. And then a lot of times you even go back and have those conversations that you never had.
yeah, yeah. And that is something very very important as we get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
It's that, and we've said this before. You you grow, and like we'll hear people like I outgrew them or whatever. No, what happened is you had a growth spurt, and
Mm-hmm.
then you got impatient waiting for their growth spurt,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, well, it's been 5 years, but you don't realize it took you 5 years before you hit yours, but you didn't notice it because y'all were both at the same level during that 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now you feel some kind of way. You got to give each other chance and time for that growth spurt.
Right.
Yeah. So listen, that's all we have for you tonight. It's another episode of Late Night Marriage with the Riches. You can start over again
You can.
with the person you already have. It's just that you both have to be intentional about it and develop that mythical friendship.
There you go.
That mythical friendship that keeps out there. It's somewhere. It might be a Neverland, but develop it. Grow together. This has been another episode of Late Night Marriage with the Riches, where it is lights off, transparency on, and we will see you guys on the next video. God bless.
Good night, and we love you for real.